Welcome back to Maconi Entertainment coverage of the US Touring Car Championship Sim Racing season, provided alongside by GTR simulators. Second week on the channel, and we're out here at Lime Rock Park, which, I mean, almost every free track on iRacing is a fun banger, and they're going through them one at a time. Lime Rock Park is very, very, very fast, very, very, very sweeping, very, very dramatic. Lots of elevation change, and we are going to be running the tricky chicane. I expect these front-wheel drive cars to have a bit of difficulty getting through some of these turns easily, but that adds to the challenge of it around here. Howie Rose alongside Sagar Bakchi today to bring you the call on tonight's race. We've got 15 minutes of qualifying and the 30-minute race as ever. Sagar, how you doing on this evening?
Dream, Howie. Nowhere else I'd rather be than one of America's most long-lived and oldest road courses in the United States. We're at Lime Rock Park. This is where IMSA runs, Trans Am runs. We have Moto America coming here as well. So many historic series tread their rubber on Lime Rock Park, and so will these drivers here tonight, and I'm absolutely here to see what they're capable of producing.
Had some very exciting battles last time around at Summit Point Raceway. Another fast one on the road, but this one I think is going to be more of a challenge for these cars. Kia Optima's front-wheel drive as ever, understeer machines, could cause a little bit of strife into these turns. The first one, make it two really in one direction, goes on for way longer than you're expecting on the back end of the track, as well as you fly down the hill on the way out. It's going to be a real struggle just to keep these things pointed in one direction and going fast. These cars, of course, a little bit edgier and trickier than the TCR offerings on iRacing, of which a new revamp to the class was just announced today. So front-wheel drive fans are going to have a lot to be excited for. These cars are a little bit older in the tooth, I believe. They're here because of the GT World Challenge. They used to race in that back in the day, multi-class. That sure was an experience, but they are your free offering in iRacing for front-wheel drive. And again, as I mentioned last week, no ABS on these things. They can be tricky to master, but they're a whole lot of fun on the edge, and they can very much end up on the edge.
And we're going to see the drivers push them to that brink like you talked about last week. Took a couple glimpses at that race, and boy, was that exciting. We're going to see cars batch up in these packs, or clump up, if you will, into these balls of dough that are going to roll around the racetrack together, and we're going to see some hemming and hawing from mistakes being made and positions being given and positions being taken left, right, and center. But we're going to see these clumps of cars kind of sticking together because it is a momentum-based track. Momentum is king here. One mistake will really cost you half a lap because of the rate of speed that the drivers are traveling throughout this track. There are very few heavy braking zones here, meaning rhythm and momentum are going to be everything in these front-wheel drive cars, Howie.
Practice has been running for the last half an hour. Some of that's been on the screen in the downtime. And just to show you how drivers have been ranking up, I think Thomas Pitre, who I'm going to pronounce correctly this time instead of saying Pitter, don't know where that one came from last week, is so close to Austin Rahn on the time with it. Qualifying is going to be quite scary. It's 4 laps, way higher than the iRacing standard. Obviously, any off-track invalidates a lap, but those fastest laps have been very, very close to each other, and we could have some close tangles at the front. Hopefully, less incident in the way to define it. Also worth shouting out to other presenting sponsors of the league. We have GoGoGear.com, I believe. They are part owners of the US Touring Car Championship, which usually run in the real world. They're a very affordable way of getting into touring car racing. This is just sort of their off-season exercise, and also Heggs Filtration, another presenting sponsor of the series. So that's all I've got there. Just a few more minutes. Drivers finishing off their last laps. They'll get 4 attempts to run around the track, and that means that drivers are going to chop and change quite a lot on the field. Last week, there were a lot of surprise jumps and a lot of surprise changes. Drivers have done a lot of laps, up to 41 in practice, just trying to learn this combination. It's all going to come into handy in just a second.
Well, I just think that the drivers that are coming here really understand that it's all about their momentum. And when you're talking about momentum, it's about getting those brake markers right or getting those turning points correct. And that's all memory based. So getting that repetition in will be key. So, I mean, look at turn one, for example. It looks simple, but it's a long decreasing radius right-hander. Drivers will often overcommit early, and it'll ruin your lap right away, pretty much. And then you're going after it again and again and again, chasing that monkey or chasing the white rabbit and that lap time over and over again. And there's a couple of drivers chasing some grass right now as they make mistakes in the closing minutes of the practice session.
Well, qualifying here is more thrilling than your average iRacing session, so we'll be bringing you coverage of the whole thing. Obviously, the track decked out in the Leuna sponsorship. It's quite new. I believe that came in after the NASCAR Truck Series started running here. Drivers getting ready for their qualifying now. Individual qualifying on the track as ever, so we'll only be able to track one at a time, but let's keep an eye on Thomas Pietre's first out lap. And then we'll keep an eye on the lap times as they come flying through. We're going to have about 10 to 11 cars. And if you see me on the starting grid, just know I pressed the wrong button to get there. Sort of happens to all of us. Drivers now making it out there on the track. Here's Thomas Pietre's on-board lap. The only tight braking zone on the circuit is the chicane uphill, which you are running today. Got to watch the turtle shells on all of the ends of it. Would have been very excited to fly up that thing with no chicane, but it does provide an actual overtaking zone on the track if you can get inside another car. This is where understeer is going to bite the most, I think. West Bend followed by the downhill. We already saw one in practice run just a little bit wide, and you really have to modulate speed. A lot of rear-wheel drive cars at this speed can just go flat out down there, but those front tyres are not going to be able to do everything out there on the track. Now, I believe Thomas Pietre is going to be the first one to actually set a lap time on the road today. So, as soon as he gets one through, everyone else is going to start flowing through one at a time, and there'll be lots of attempts.
Yeah, 4 attempts with 15 minutes on the clock. Drivers are going to run through qualifying pretty quickly now. Let's see what the Irishman of Michael McCollahan can do as well. That number 36 is a driver that I'll keep an eye on. It's interesting because the number 56 is one of the faster cars out there right now, or expecting to be, at least setting their first lap time in the practice very early on. It's looking good right now for Pitre. Is that correct? I want to make sure I pronounce it right.
That's what I was told last time. For some reason, I just missed the R and called him Pitter, which was crazy work. And he just came in as Thomas Pitre in the interview afterwards. And I was like, how did I get that wrong? Very close on the first 2 laps between Pitre and Rahn. Also, there's another Pitre, Tom Pitre. So we've got to get it right twice. Reto Bowman sets the 4th lap after Tom beats him out. And that's an example of understeer into turn 1, biting you hard. A few more to go. Andrew Milbach, I think his lap wasn't actually legal, went off the track. Same for Elias Sham, who picked up quite a few off tracks last week and in the practice. Hopefully that time has been put now into trying to get some laps on the board. Nick Dawson-Latten, though, sneaks into 3rd place between them. These gaps are small, and I think they're about to get smaller.
Wow, every driver in the top 3 down into the 57s already. Tom Pitre being the gatekeeper of the 58s. 58.7, but probably going to find some time there as well. And then, like you said, the number 12 and 53 following things up. But my man McCollahan hasn't set a lap yet, and he's had a few off tracks on this next lap. So he's struggling out there, to say the slightest.
Few more running down. No one able to beat Thomas Pitre. He went faster. 2.78 this time. The laps do get faster throughout qualifying. Here's Dawson-Latham. I don't think that one's faster either. It actually was slow and went off the track. So I don't know if it went off the track, but it was slower than the last one, so certainly didn't count. Elias Sam gets a lap on the board. Always better to get on the board. You're going to beat out everybody that fails to get one. Here's McCollahan, who struggled last time around. He has 2 more attempts on the road. And, I mean, it's going to be hard to get around this track on your own. Side by side could present an even different challenge.
Well, I'd rather be on the board than under it, that's for sure. I'd rather be behind the wheel of a race car than a spectator in the stands. But tonight, I get the joyous occasion of watching Austin Rahan go with the fastest time. That'll be a 57.17. Pretty good times there. Best Petre in the number 56. But here is McCullahan coming to the wire now. Will it be a valid lap? We just need to stitch one together. In the grand scheme of things, the number 66, 36 will put down a 101.06. And actually, that'll match Sam's time in the number 11.
Comparison here between two drivers. That didn't work. You know what? I really thought that was going to work. Qualifying's weird sometimes. I was hoping to get a nice comparison between the sectors because Petre only has 1 or 2 more chances here to try and beat over the line after Austin Run gets the 173. It's a 143. One higher on the board. That will mark the end of his laps. Here's Tom Petre down the hill, though. Austin Run doesn't go faster. It's Thomas and Tom, by the way. So I think do we go Thomas J? I think maybe the J is what's going to be used for. There's Tom Petre's lap time. Not an improvement. Last one was a 58.954. Brad Austin, last driver out on the field. He took a long time to actually get his car rolling, so nothing really has been set at all. But he'll be the last one to be setting times on the road as most wrap up their final laps.
Yeah, Brad Austin, the 1.1K rated driver in the number 8 Kia right now, is just starting their qualifying run. Don't remember seeing them in the practice session, so this might be their first sighting lap of the track, so cautiously tiptoeing their way through the chicane and will probably build up the speed and momentum that they need to get through the lap rather than just charge their way through.
Well, I hope there can be momentum down the hill because you've mentioned momentum quite a few times. They're going to keep applying. I think if you keep putting the brakes down, you're not quite going to get a run you're looking for. Ben Kurtz, while we weren't looking, by the way, just flies into P3. He actually has more laps he can use, and he just might not use them. He's taken a P3 over the line. Actually, we only have 1 or 2 more cars, so like Andrew Mibach, I know, likes to keep running laps all the way to the end of the session to get some practice on the board. Same with Nick Dawson, Latham. So both of those drivers going to be just continuing the run. That's Nick going wide right now. There is an incident limit on the race session, by the way. You get a penalty at 25 and then more every 15x from there. We actually did see that get hit last week at Summit Point, which was another track that was very easy to understeer out of. A lot of the races have been running at these sort of free tracks that are very, very fast to drive on. One of our last cars to watch is Brad Austin, who I think is running with a little bit more pace, but still driving conservatively. Things like that are the reason it's very easy to miss that braking point. And really, all you have is a tree on the left-hand side. That's going to invalidate that. You can run all the way up the hill. You'll get a slow-down penalty, which doesn't help anyone, but you will miss the off-track, and it might be the safer way in the race conditions to make it back onto the track. I'm cheering for Brad to get one done in time, though. He only has the time to run a lap, and being on the board could beat out some of the slower drivers on the field. There is a wide variety of skills across the field today. So much of this track is about nailing some difficult braking markers, one after another, and especially as I keep mentioning the no ABS on this thing, you can lock it up real hard. We might not get draft trains like we got last week. There was some good drafting runs down the start-finish, but I think this start-finish straight is just a little bit too short for them this time. It's a very similar last turn to Summit Point. It is a wide right-hander, but Lime Rock's a little bit more brutal. You don't get that concrete runoff on the outside, and going downhill really messes with the weight distribution, and it means you have to back up a corner that looks similar on the surface a lot more than you would possibly expect.
Yeah, it's a very unique circuit, and a couple of reasons why. It's got natural terrain layout, much akin to VIR. Like classic European circuits, Lime Rock follows the natural hills of Connecticut where it's located. The uphill is blind and intimidating, and the driver's crest is flat out, and it just hops and skips the car through the crest. It's absolutely beautiful, but it's only due to the natural architecture of the track or the natural layout. You don't get that at man-made circuits. You don't get that at flat tracks with just under a 60-second track driving these basically street-going cars. It was 1.5 miles, Howie. This is a driver's circuit, to say the least.
It's one that nearly every new iRacing driver gets to run around if they're doing a lot of racing on the service. It's usually their MX-5s, their Formula 4s, their Formula Vs will end up here. I love the M2, but trust me, that thing does not work around here. You want to skip Lime Rock Week in the M2. That car doesn't like it very well. But the other ones, I tell you what, this track can breed chaos because obviously it's quite fast. It's got a lot of corners that are easy to underestimate. Running side by side can be tricky because you never really know what the car next to you is going to quite do into you. A little bit of a lag spike over the hill for Reto Bowman, but he's back on the circuit running down the hill. I don't think he's running for timed laps anymore, but I'm trying to keep an eye on Brad Austin. I do think he is going to struggle to get a lap done, but he perseveres. I think this might be his last attempt. So if this one isn't legal, nothing quite is, but he hasn't crossed the start-finish line. Most he was able to get was around 112s, 117s. Only tip is I suggest not driving backwards through the pit. You'd be surprised at how quickly iRacing can DQ you for that offence. And then you don't get to appeal, you know, you're just gone. iRacing just gets rid of you. Would hate to see that chance robbed. I've seen people who got disqualified for the Daytona 24 by backing up into too many pit stalls, like because they were counted as going backwards. It was kind of brutal. You don't really want to do that one. There's two red cars out on the track. I'm going to have to try and compare between. So Rato's is the one with the white on, and Andrew Milbach, who I think is associated with. It's I looked this up before. I've already forgotten it, so I'm just going to type this in now. I'd associate rookiesports.gg. Hard into the wall right now.
Well, I think he's associated with obviously some sort of auto body repair shop, as he's got the hook up on that.
It happens.
But also he was doing a bit of lawn mowing earlier on in the session. So I think he's got a Honda Lawn and Power equipment sponsorship attached to that car, possibly.
Got to practice the limits early. You know, while you have time to practice the limits, you just got to practice those limits, see what you can do with the car. Bash it into a wall. Unfortunately, if you're out of qualifying laps, you can't return the car and keep going. So, Razor Arsham has qualified P8. He's sitting in the pit lane, meaning we might have 3 more minutes of riding on board with Reto Bowman. I brought it up last week, but in iRacing, this car runs alongside the Cadillac. It's not. Is it the CTSV or is that the name of the GTP? I get it confused. I can look this up very, very quickly.
I believe it is the CTSV.
Yeah, so the CTSV, I looked it up. It's an absolute monster of a car, and this thing occasionally gets to run multi-class with it. And
oh yeah,
it's really, really, really on edge. It's really, really tricky. It actually does mirror early sort of GT World Championship battles. The series had a lot more cars in a particular year, but it did have the Kia in one class and the Cadillac in another class, and then like 20 more cars. iRacing got 2 of them back in the day, and since then they've just been grandfathered into the free content on the service. So, but like sometimes the races can be crazy. I can tell you the best time I've ever had in iRacing was in this car was on Monza with no chicanes, because these things for some reason have an aero model that gives them the most ridiculous draft runs in history. Anything in stock cars, you wouldn't believe what these things can do. Instead, you just get behind someone on a long straight and you get very, very big runs. So I don't think anyone else is going to qualify. So I actually think now is probably a good time to run through those qualifying results, if I am allowed to, by the simulator. Yes, we are indeed. Thomas Pitre lines up P1 next to Austin Rahn. 300ths of a second. They're close again on the front row. The racing could be close between them at 2. Kevin Kurtz lines up P3 next to Nick Dawson-Latham. That is the Rookie Esports driver. That's the one with Rookie Esports. It's a 3rd red car on the grid. So we have Reto Bowman and Andrew Milbach in P6. Tom Pitre lines up in 7th next to Razor Arsham. And Michael McColligan, if he is playing from Ireland, I'm telling you it's 3 a.m. right now, so I totally respect. If he's from Ireland, he lives in the Americas, that's something different. P9 next to Alias Sham in 10. And Brad Austin has the option to take the grid if he pleases. Did not set a qualifying lap that was valid, but iRacing will let you in at the back of the grid if he chooses to start. So as everybody lined up, 30 minutes of running with no expected pit stop. We did see one show up last week, and I'm still not really sure what happened there. Could have been damage that I didn't catch going on, but it's usually just a sprint to the end, and there's going to be plenty of laps. A fast lap under a minute here. We could be going more than 30 times around this track.
It's definitely going to feel like an endurance race to these gentlemen drivers tonight. It's going to feel like an endurance race out there. And with this close back battle racing that we've seen before, that we're kind of expecting tonight, with these groups of drivers battling with each other, they're going to get a little sweaty, and I expect we're going to see a little bit of driver fatigue come out as well, because they're just going to genuinely get tired throughout this event.
The front tyres could also take an absolute beating if you're pushing too hard at high speed. I mean, wear's never truly a factor in iRacing, sports car racing, but heat really can be. And if you overcook those tyres, you make them run a little bit too hard, you're going to have quite a bad time in the long run, because there's not really any time to rest on this track. There's not really a slow opportunity to go. Qualifying is now wrapped up and all good, so the drivers are going to be hitting the grid one by one. Standing start. We had an amazing launch last week from the back rows. We have a rolling start this time. I see the Porsche. It was a standing start last week. It looks like we are going to be rolling from out back this time. Maybe someone did not like getting beaten on the launch last time. Who knows? One full pace lap behind the Porsche. And then we'll be off for a rolling start down the hill. Two teammates in those Supernova cars on the same road. Thomas Pitre and Austin Rahn. Going to be careful as to how they battle each other into the first turn.
Well, two teammates that were separated by less than a tenth, mind you. 0.003 separated them in the qualifying session. So let's see if they can keep up that pace throughout the race as well. But Ken Kurtz, who jettisoned himself up into third place, was pretty good in the qualifying session as well, so don't count him out for making a move.
I hear that the rolling start was a mistake and that he, quote, swears he said it to standing. Now, a swear is one thing, but unfortunately, we are sitting rolling on the grid. These cars usually used to their standing starts, but we will be fine, I think, and it could lead to a more interesting start as drivers get to roll down that hill at high speed and hit that first turn at maximum power. We are going to have to wait around a bit, though, because we are going to be doing the full length. Now, here's a thing that you're not going to get to hear because you don't hear my stream, but here's a fun fact for people in iRacing who play iRacing and are in the know. You know that the Porsche pace car has the correct engine sound. If we ride on board as it starts rolling, you'll hear that it sounds like a Porsche GT3. It's like, they even did that. Eventually, everybody will go. The problem is, I was the one who signed up to the session. I'm actually on the side right now. It's a mark of shame. Car number 11. I'm going to drop off in a second. I'm not going to race while commentating, unfortunately, today. But I'm the one that actually held back the start of that session. Brad Austin, I think, has indeed hit the grid, leaving a very empty space behind him. Here's the pace car. Oh. That is the Porsche. That's the sound of the Porsche. It makes me wonder beautiful. What sound comes out of the sedan, because the BMW comes out of the BMW. Probably the Mustang comes out of the Mustang. I wonder what comes out of that sedan car that you often see on the oval racing. One paced up around the track, the pace car will rock in, and these cars will go flying down that straight. 11 cars on the field, plus one straggler that signed up incorrectly. Double file to begin, and how do you tackle turn one side by side on this track when it's hardly a braking zone in a rear-wheel drive car?
Extremely carefully. That's all I have to say, is mind the space between yourself and your fellow counterpart, especially if they happen to be driving in the same colors as you. The last thing that you want to do is run your teammate off the road at lap 1, turn 1. So just mind the gaps.
I was traveling in London Underground today, so I've heard mind the gap more than once, let me tell you that. But you do want to be careful if you're Maconi outside. Do want to be mindful. Thomas J. Pitre is going to lead the field to green when the pace car's in. He should be able to run whenever he wants. The league didn't really set formal rules for a rolling start because they weren't quite expecting it, so I believe that's going to be iRacing rules down to a T. Pace car pulls in. And Thomas is in control of this field. And we are green. Quite a big gap there behind Ken Kurtz on the road. As we make a turn into turn one, Kurtz a very fast launch, able to beat out Austin Ryan into turn one, mostly single file, a few side by side the way down, no incidents out of turn one though. Ken didn't have the qualifying he was looking for, but he's already actually started moving. He was very fast in the practice last time. I think our first driver off the track, thought maybe Andrew Me back. I don't think so. He actually has kept it on, just ran a little bit wide in his time. Now, first time we send the field through the uphill chicane. Your first real slowing on this circuit. Everybody just about making it. Got to be really careful about those bumps. They will catch you out. We'll be running around 32 laps today. Our field mostly single file. For now, it's going to be about waiting for mistakes here.
Yes, it really is a battle of mistakes going into Lime Rock Park. It's just extremely fast-paced, few braking zones. There's going to be momentum-based errors here at this circuit, and that's going to be your opportunity to strike. The overtakes won't come to you naturally just into one corner. You're going to have to challenge into one sector, and then when that slowdown occurs, you can pounce back up as we see the number 12 of our Sham rejoining the track right behind the 36 of my man McCollahan.
I mean, you've taken a liking to the Irish one, and I can't fault you for that at all, but you've certainly took an early liking, and you made your pick, and you're going to stick with it to the very, very end. Yeah, he ran wide off the track on the first turn. Yeah, I mean, you have to commit to your early picks, I got to say. Especially because you weren't here last week. You don't even remember the drivers. You had to give it a shot. Ken Kurtz now down the hill. I do want to see how these cars get a run with each other because they do have that pronounced draft. I don't predict it's going to be a massive difference maker, but you do make up about half a tenth, which isn't that impressive, I'll be real with you. Ken Kurtz sets the fastest lap. But it does give you something to think about. Reto Barman just a little bit edgy out of turn one. Still battling Michael McCullough and Brad Austin. I think he just cleaned a pass on the 8 car. Let's take a look. McCullough, I think, very slow entering that turn, and pretty much how that one happened. He might got taken advantage by 2, not quite. But a difficult braking into turn 1 triggered that. Our top 3 quite close indeed on the circuit. Passing's hard around here, but the best place to be is within range to possibly get it done. And all these top 3 drivers are within a second. They can see each other on the track. They've just got to get their laps done very consistently here.
Now, if you're Ken Kurtz, what is going through your mind right now as we're looking at this battle between McCollahan and Brad Austin side by side? Down the back stretch we go, and in towards 1. Why not make it 3 wide as Sham gets involved as well? The sandwich in the between. No way, Jose, the 36 gets kissed in the rear end and spun around, and that will be just desserts there.
3 wide was a difficult proposition, and the middle driver, he just sort of inches to the right under braking. His car gets edgy under braking, so that really can just happen. You can see he tried to back out early. You don't want to be in these sort of situations here on the track, and he moves to the right, and it's just, I think it just is something about the brakes. They do make the car quite unstable. And wrong place, wrong time for your favourite driver of choice. I'm going to assume it was bad luck and not a cursed influence, because that would be too harsh to give to you this early on in the race. Anything can happen from now. Quite a bit closer up front. Ken Kurtz is going to want that P1. He's splitting the Supernova drivers down the middle, and he could totally try for more.
Yeah, Ken Kurtz is that meat of the Supernova sandwich right now, and very colorful livery he has chosen for the evening. an M&M's theme, I'm guessing, but wet paint written on the side of that. So wet paint splattered on the side of Ken Kurtz's car, and he's looking pretty quick out there. He did pull out the fastest lap last time around, 57:11 being that time. Let's see if he can continue to pick up the pace as the fuel load comes down, but so will the tire wear, right, Howie? We've talked about it a little bit before at the beginning of the show. Maybe the tire wear not becoming a huge factor, but the tire heat will be.
Big dive by Reto Ballman's going to send Nick Dawson-Latham wide, and that's an example of just what happens trying to run side by side in this turn. It's sort of always quite a bit of jeopardy being the car on the outside here. The Kia marked in the VW, you just have to pretend, but he sends it in deep, and then it's just understeer on the brakes, understeer into the other car wide. He's going to send him out. Doing a little bit of research while you talk, and yes, I did get confused by the wet paint as well last week, so I'm glad that you're going through all the same experiences that I am bit by bit. Looked up Team Supernova. They are sort of a three-man gang. Car design, it's a very nice design by Austin Rahn. And Thomas Pitre is the touring car driver in question. He does race in the USTCC in real life, so he definitely does have experience in cars like this, and he has taken very well. He did perform very well last week, and he's taken to it again, but Ken Kurtz is on him.
Yeah, and Ken Kurtz again closes down the gap on Pitre ahead in the number 56. Just doing a really good job of staying within that striking distance and staying within a close proximity in case a mistake pops up from the 56 ahead. And that's all you can really do at a track like Lime Rock Park is close down the gap, stay within spitting distance, and if a mistake happens, you're there to capitalize. But if you're not there and a mistake happens in front of you and the gap just closes down, oh, it's one of the most gutting feelings in sim racing.
Lots of time to go and a lot of time separated out. Just tells you what can happen on this circuit. We're doing side by side one more time here. Nick Dawson-Latham gets the better of Reto Ballman, and I don't want to see the same move happen again between these two and break my heart. Neither car heavily damaged. They're still racing it out there on the track, though. Even though there's a big difference between the fastest and slowest driver, almost everybody finds somebody to run with alongside this race, which does keep it interesting. But that time around, it's just going to back out and not quite take the same chase on the circuit. I'm trying to do my research on USTCC drivers as we run this. Actually, I'm trying to find, like, can I find race winners? Can I find championship leaders? Some of them race in other series as well, sort of local budget car series. Aren't necessarily just the touring cars. So you will sort of see them around if you do your research. I've not been able to find enough in the time that you've been talking, so I've got a lot of jobs to do. You know, I've got plates to spin on this show. I'm producing, I'm commentating, I'm keeping an eye on everything that's going on. Put me in the background, Chief. Austin Rahn is now the one that's more within striking range of Ken Kurtz, I think. Ken Kurtz has lost just a second to Thomas J. Pitre, and Austin Rahn would love to take that place off him.
Absolutely. I mean, who wouldn't want P2 over P3 at the end of the day? And also getting back to where you started this race is Ken Kurtz cost Austin Rahn kind of sleeping at the wheel on that race start. So a little bit of a mistake there on the race start cost him P2 right off the good. So it's a little bit here, a little bit there. Ken Kurtz is slinking that gap, but not anymore as it changes up. Ron gets by Ken Kurtz as he makes the mistake headed down the back stretch.
You caught that, I didn't, but I can get back to that one. It's going to be the chicane, isn't it? Oh, it's a bit of oversteer and understeer at the same time in this car. It really is a peculiar one on the track, but I can sort of see that the rear kicks out just a bit and then the car just sort of plows in one direction. So we got both at once going on. Yeah, oh, it's more like he just wasn't able to commit into the second part. We did have another little incident happen. So Michael McColligan, I'm afraid to tell you. I do think he has a pretty bad turn here. So this is going to hurt him in the battle that he has. I just saw him drop like a rock, and I'm like, that's got to happen somehow. Oof, he gets sent. He just gets sent from another galaxy and decides, I am going to back out of this and slow down. I mean, people are being way bolder into turn one than I thought they would ever be.
That's fine. My man McCullahan is just going to play it calm, cool, and collected, baby. That's all fine with me. He's only down 1 on the evening so far. Brad Austin is up 3 right now, but he could make a mistake here or there. He did not qualify. He did not show up for practice, so he's a little rusty. Michael McCollum put down quite a few laps during that session. So right now we're looking at Ken Kurtz and Austin Reyes battle, and there's the look to the inside line coming down in towards 1. But Ken Kurtz was just selling the dummy to Austin Ron because it couldn't quite find the daylight to exist there. And again, Kurtz driving these alternate lines, being a tad bit over aggressive, and on lap number 10 we're already running into traffic. There's my man McCullahan in the number 36 getting passed by the leader, and now by P2, and then P3 get a little bit elbows at the 36, closes the door on the 64, now gets out of the way and lets the leaders through. And my man McCullahan maybe needs to check his mirrors a little bit.
I mean, that's a really, yeah, it's a strange that he sort of turned in like that, but I gotta say that it's a really, sort of terrifying place to end up with the lap traffic, because I wondered, like, how are these guys really going to get past him? I'll have the replay in just a second once we work out if a scent is being sent into the first turn. No, I think it's being pretty relaxed. So we'll take a look at what Austin Ron's moment here going up the hill. I do think he's just getting scared, a little bit scared in traffic. Tries to pull off to one side. At this point, drivers go the other way, and it's very likely he just turns in a bit too much because it's a corner that requires commitment, and I can imagine he's scared. Elias Shan, by the way, eats our first black flag penalty of the day for 25 incident points. I did tell you that some drivers are going to catch some of these in the time that is available, and there's likely going to be more, but that's the first one to drive through the pit lane. Still, our top 3 in tow as McCullahan does get a pass past Brad Austin. So you can take a look at this one. This is certainly one for you. I'm glad we've made our favourites today on the show. Gives it it's a wide bad take of the chicane there. Ooh, a bit of a scary rejoin as well. You can even see that one through the tree, but just about backed up enough there by McCullahan to get the pass done.
That was a bit scary and a bit wide for Brad Austin, and McCullahan was able to pull that one off and get through. Ken Kurtz still staying within spitting distance of his opponents and the Supernova team. He's within 7/10, but he's slinking that gap back and forth. Again, Ken Kurtz last time around 58.26. Austin Ron's last time was a 57.8. So that time 4/10 slinking away doesn't seem like a lot, but when it stacks up 3 laps in a row, well, that's how you get a 1.2 second gap, unfortunately. Ken Kurtz still trying to challenge, though, coming down the straightaway in just a few moments' time. Through the final corner, we go racing here for lap number 13 tonight.
Lap number 14 of 31 predicted on the road. That's a much faster lap by Ken Kurtz than any previous, so he's been able to make up some pretty good distance there. And I think I'm trying to work out if something just happened. Yes, I think it did to Nick Dawson-Latham. I gotta say, I'm getting constant notifications that people are passing me. Something to do with iRacing, and I'm awfully offended. I'm awfully offended. I think drivers are getting quite a few slowdowns and also black flags. Andrew Maybach got another one. These have got to be automatically given out there for the 25 incident limit. I don't see anything else. It gets stricter once you get that first penalty, though, so you do want to really try your hardest to keep it on. This is our closest battle, our one remaining battle. Ron and Kurt, it's going to keep on rolling.
How did Kurtz get in front of Austin Ron, though? Was it a mistake going into the chicane? We'll answer that question in just a few moments, because Ken Kurtz might have been under attack there, but no. Here it is, the run going into the backside chicane. Ron leads Kurtz. Now going through, it looks neat and tidy, but up the hill, it just looks like Kurtz has a better run out of it.
everything about that chicane is really demanding, more demanding than it looks. You have to get the entry right, but then it's this really slow, lumbering, and like awkward chicane where it feels like it turns one more time than it really needs to, and you have to be able to like straight line it to the best of your ability to get anything done around here. It's a really, really frustrating chicane in a lot of cars, probably more so in this one. And I can imagine that one bad exit dooms you. You sort of sets you up. You have to do it all over again. Nick Dawson, Lavam also catching up a little bit to Reto Barman up ahead. These two have been battling quite a fair bit. I am not biased at all by any design on the side of the 00, by the way. Nothing at all. Just don't even question it. Here they come down the start-finish straight. The Sam Posey straight, the sign used to say before the NASCAR Truck Series race. Don't think there'll be a serious run here. We could see a bold move. Not quite going to happen, but you know, I've seen crazier just today. There's often the question of I've seen crazier today. Officially, the halfway mark, make that 15 minutes of running, and 15 minutes to go. These are quick sprints, but they do provide a lot of action on the road today.
Yeah, there is a lot of action up and down the field, which is surprising for a grid this small. But like we said, we were going to find these little dough balls of pack racing, and they sure are bound to stick. The 00 and the 53 staying very close to each other going in through the chicane, and up the hill we go down the back stretch and into the west bend before we get down to the diving turn. It just seems like the drivers are well equipped in these cars, as if they know them like the back of their hand. Although the skill gap is there between the front of the field and the back of the field, the racecraft is also there. So these drivers are showcasing that they know how to get these overtakes done and how to drive side by side, just as the 00 goes for the move into turn one, the big bend side by side, leaving tons of room along the inside. Now through the S's is where things get a little bit tricky, because the inside line turns into the outside line, and a little kiss to the V-dub badge number 53 of Bowman up ahead, but no harm, no foul.
Now that is how you go side by side into that turn, but it does prove that if you can't really clear them on the inside of one, you're going to have a bad time very, very quick, and that's probably what's encouraging some of the bigger, bolder moves. These two are racing very, very well. Reto Bowman and Nick Dawson-Lavam, and they're going to keep going at it as the race goes on, as our top three are mostly within a second of each other on the road, isn't it? Nick Dawson, I don't think, has the speed this time to really catch up going into turn one. 5 tenths back going into it means his next best chance is going to be on that chicane, as long as he can maintain momentum. But you can just see how much you have to crank the wheel, and then you've gone the power, and suddenly the thing just doesn't steer right. So it's really about balancing when you brake to get rotation, and then balancing the power. Oh, I think something's happened to Ken Kurtz, though. He was a second ahead, and he's just seemed to have dropped all the way back. I wonder if he was maybe forced into a slowdown, and that's swapped our positions. Yes, that is a wide run into the chicane and go just a little bit further back. But if you cut it like that, iRacing will force you to give up the time very quickly. Just misses it, and all sorts of drivers missing it today, and that puts this battle back on the menu. So let's get back to live pictures very quick for our battle for second, as there's more lap traffic in the way.
I think that might be Brad Austin in the number 8 up ahead now, the second car to be lapped in the field right now, and it'll be tricky, as you said earlier, to try to get around them, but the first of the Supernova team members have been able to do so. Now the second and third place drivers of Austin Ron and Ken Kurtz should be able to do the same, and they do so quickly as Brad Austin executes blue flag technique with grace and skill. The 00 and the 53 continue their battle. This will be Rito Bauman and Nick Dawson-Latham in the 00. Rito Bauman's up 1 position and Nick Dawson's down 1, and this is the side-by-side between Ken Kurtz and Austin Ron. Ken Kurtz goes super deep and late, and that is a beautiful over-under from Ron in the 64 Supernova car. It's almost like he had what's it called when you can see into the future? He saw into the future and really pulled out that over-under out of nowhere.
I think in his attempt to outbrake, Ken Kurtz just went too deep. And if you go too deep, it's all over. You're going to understeer the whole way out, and all of a sudden you've just given up any of the position you gained. That corner proving to be challenging. These two not giving up in any sense of the word. I think if anything decides this battle definitively, it's going to be one more slowdown penalty. Now, I know I'm making your head spin by jumping between these two, but honestly, I don't know which one's going to explode into a pass first. 53 jumps that chicane. I don't think you're going to be allowed to get away with that. You might have to serve a slowdown. I'll be surprised if he can run away. He's been allowed to run away with that one. Indeed, actually, just about. I mean, I guess the sausage is there to punish you if you go over, and this car has a remarkably compliant suspension, of all things.
Sure looked that way, and here goes back to the battle of Austin Ron and Ken Kurtz, because they're separated by just about nothing between the two of them. But you're doing the same thing that I'm doing. I'm flipping back and forth between these two epic battles. I can't quite decipher which one's going to go either way either, but we know for sure that the podium is not yet decided. The 64 and the 02 are making that decidingly clear right now. But does this mean that all this battling could lead to a major mistake with just under 10 to go to allow Bowman or Dawson Lathan also onto the podium? We've seen collisions happen in this league, and collisions at a very fast track like Lime Rock Park can be huge and treacherous, forcing drivers to come down the pit road. So we don't really know what to expect with the last 9 minutes of this race coming at you. I just want to talk about some of the historic moments from the golden era of American road racing here at Lime Rock Park. I just want to highlight, we had such a golden era in the 1960s at Lime Rock, hosting great stars like Dan Gurney, Mario Andretti, and Mark Donohue. And just those three drivers alone made this a staple in American road racing. And how did they do it, or how did it happen? It's because of all the legendary Trans Am battles that happened here. It was a major stop on the legendary Trans Am series, featuring Mustangs versus Camaros and the muscle car wars in the late 60s and early 70s. And it was just hard-fought, good racing. And if you want to watch any of that action, just look it up on YouTube. It's readily available.
And indeed, I mean, I'm glad to see modern racing returning to it with the NASCAR Truck Series. They don't even use the chicane, but that was an exciting addition to the schedule last year. The Arca Menard Series, of course, running it as well, where maybe the Jeff Maconi of the YouTube channel owner made an appearance. So, you know, only relevant. You know, he only knows the place just a bit. A little bit of contact there with Brad Austin as he ran on by the blue flag, but not too serious, just a little bit of a shunt to the side. That one was a shout out to Jeff if he's listening. If this is the best thing he's got to do this evening, then I respect it. You know, I respect it. Why not the Kia? I literally, like last week, I was told, want to stay up late for a show? And I was like, I don't know, what's the show? And he said, it's the Kia Optima. And I was like, I'm doing it. I'm in for the Kia Optima. I like my stock cars, but we do a lot of stock car racing here. Give me a Kia Optima on the channel. It's like my old friend is coming back to greet me. I don't think Nick Dawson down that turn, got enough to get a good run down the straight. He was sort of looking good, but had to slow down mid-corner. Outrageous send, though. I think everybody's learned just a little bit better than to make outrageous sends around here. Not too many laps to go on the track. Let's stick an estimation up on the screen. That never goes wrong. An estimated 8 to go for our leaders, and we'll go with it. They are running side by side. Somehow, Nick Dawson was actually able to get that one back. Reto keeps out the position for now. Trying to pick up that inside. It's really, really tempting. Really, really tempting to get yourself down into there. Makes me wonder how tempting the chicane is going to be. It's like a rookie race catastrophe corner. Not quite this time, but I think this might be closer than ever if Nick can get the run out.
Yeah, if he can force a mistake going into the chicane like he's poking at the bear right now, Dawson Lathan can really get this one done on Bowman going into the final stages of this race. It's really looking good for him right now, and he's putting himself in a prime position to get an overtake done. Like I said, you have to be there when the moment strikes.
Time flies, laps fly, 7 to go on the road, and it's still single file in line. But I keep seeing Nick Dawson, and I keep thinking he's going to try and go for this. It's not a podium spot, but it sure is a spot that is still worth chasing down. No real chance to get the car ahead, but it seems to just get closer and closer every single lap, every single time around we go. Backs off a little bit, wants to give more space into the chicane, or does he? That nose is in a scary, scary, scary place. It's all about the exit. You've talked about momentum before. It's about momentum and corner exit. Space being given up on the inside, but Nick just seems to slow down in the uphill. Did the same last lap, now coming down the hill one more time. If the run's good, then something's on here, but I see that gap just slightly grow, and I think, oh, it's not on this time, and we'll actually get a little bit of an aero advantage down here. No, we've not seen many turn 1 sends truly work.
No, we haven't, but the ones that we have seen have been phenomenal as well. Back over to the Ken Kurtz battle with Ron out in P2 and P3. This is as close as it's gotten in a while. Kurtz gets a wheel along the inside line, going into the final bend now. Down the Samposi straight. It'll be a little bit of a lead for Ken Kurtz over to the racing line, but now can he cover off Ron from behind, or will he go in too deep, doing his best Sum 41 impression? Not this time around. The 0-2 carries the speed and momentum to secure that position for now, and it goes the 53 in the 00 side by side. Up the hill we go, and then down the hill we plummet again. Side by side continues down the Samposi straight. Feel like I've got deja vu when I said this all over again, but we're going to continue the side by side battle between Dawson, Lathan, and Rito Bowman. Now towards turn 1, we've seen it gone wrong before. Will it be pitch perfect this time? The 00 of Nick Dawson Lathan gets that one done.
That took both drivers a while, and then they decided to spring them on us at the same time. Hardly fair in the booth, but two excellent battles and excellent passes, both determined by exit speed in pretty much the same portion of the track. It actually has been the key passing zone. The top of the hill, just making sure you run these next 2 turns faster without ploughing and understeering. If you can do that, you're pretty much golden to get your run. Only a few laps to go. It's 3.5 minutes of time, so we estimate it's going to be 4 to go on the line, but could give or take one if any miracles happen. We've not talked much about Thomas J. Pitre. Fortunately, the reality of dominating on a broadcaster show with good battles around is you don't get talked about terribly much, but Thomas Pitre has been cleaning up cars like nothing and has gotten the fastest lap of the race at 57.101, and he's looking to try and lap his brother Tom Pitre. I'm assuming brother. It's certainly a family member, I can tell you that. If you name both your kids Tom, you're going to cause confusion. It's more likely to be a father-son, to be totally honest, but clears them out easy to discern. Maybe I'll have to ask. We might get to speak to him at the end of the race, and this time I'll be like, hey, didn't call you Pitter all race today, but now we need to know more. So, clean pass through the turn there. Ken Kurtz, totally clear of Austin Rahn, 2 seconds now, and even even Nick Dawson Lathan. He was clearly faster because he's made it out to a second now, and there's not looking like there's too much of a threat.
Wow, a 2-second gap over basically 1 lap. Ken Kurtz really unleashed the beast right when he needed to. Maybe he was potentially saving a little bit of that tire just for the end of the race and knew that he could just manage a little bit more heat and a little bit more tire scrubbing towards the end of the race to build a safe buffer zone to Austin Rahn when he had the opportunity. Now, why didn't he do that when he was battling, you might ask, is because then he'd be giving an advantage over to his opponent, right? Who isn't using or consuming their tires just as much, but once he got the clean air and the momentum was there, he unleashed it, and the basically 2K rated driver did it on Austin Rahn.
Most of this race now pretty split out, but thankfully they saved it till the very, very end. They didn't give us 30 minutes of this, they gave us 30 minutes of thrilling racing around Lime Rock Park when Thomas Pitre crosses the line. I hope and expect that we'll see the white flag as he clears more cars. Slowest car, Brad Austin's going to go down 4 laps on the day, so quite a few drivers have been outpaced over the long run. It happened last time out as well. Running down the hill, I'm sure it will be the white flag. Look at the time remaining, because it will cross with just under that time period to go. Don't let me down, iRacing. Don't make me look like an idiot. The overlay's going to say final lap, and it's not even like a true confirmation of that reality. So you never really know. But when Thomas Pitre crosses the line, we expect the race will be over. It will have run out of time, and that's really all that matters. Ken Kurtz was able to win the excellent battle for P3 over Austin Rahn. I'm not cursing bad things into existence by saying that they've already happened. Trust me. And Nick Dawson-Latham been able to win that excellent battle, and now he's made that gap significant. He's just sort of proven, he's proven that he really did need to earn that, but getting a pass done here is hard. Here's Thomas Pitre coming in for the last few turns now. So faultless we haven't even had to really look at him. The battle's been happening behind, but a whole lot less contact this week and a lot fewer incidents than last time around. It's been pretty much clean racing the whole time around. Thomas Pitre coming through to claim the checkered flag. He is weaving to celebrate. He's thanking the pit crew you wish were there. Thomas Pitre is your winner here at Lime Rock Park.
Amazing race that flew by faster than I could have ever imagined. What a battle between Kurtz and Ron, Nick Dawson-Latham, and Rito Bowman as well. Tom Pitre in P6, Arsham in P7, McCallahan, my man McCallahan in 8th, and Maybach in 9th, Brad Austin in 10th, and Sham in 11th. We'll round out all the participants here tonight, but don't forget about Howie Burrows, who did not start this race.
You know, I used to always accidentally sign up to league races, and I ended up remembering to stop doing that because it's, it puts you on the leaderboard. It's deeply embarrassing, and yet again I've repeated my own methods here again and ruined it all over again. Thomas Pitre have a clean runaway over Ken Kurtz, Austin Rahn, Nick Dawson-Latham, Reto Barman, Tom Pitre, Razor Arsha, Michael McCulloch, and Andrew Migvac and Bragg Austin. And about this, Sean, woo, I got excluded from the final result, as it should be. That marks our drivers, and we did get some interviews last time around. They did roll up over here, so we'll just give them a few minutes. And I'm sure some of them will be willing to talk to us as well. As a reminder, this series, of course, the US Touring Car Championship Virtual Series, brought to you in partnership with GTR Simulators, helping bring it together. This league is owned by GoGoGear.com and also brought to you by Hengst Filtration. Again, I'm not giving ad reads, and I'm just doing my best to make the most sense of it. So, just waiting for a few drivers to roll on up. Any reflections as to how Lime Rock really treated these cars, though? Because it was an unusual one.
I think it was a little bit unusual, but Lime Rock provided exactly what Lime Rock typically provides. It's a lot of, you don't drive Lime Rock, you flow through it. And the statement of momentum is king here was true. It's a short track that had big consequences, and we saw them happen a lot during turn 1. We saw it a lot during the chicane, kind of the two main action zones that we expected. We almost had some last lap drama akin to the 2018 IMSA drama, but it happened kind of on the third to last lap, I would say, but we'll still call it a last lap showdown. How about that, Howie?
Yeah, I'm just going to get the attention of some of these drivers because they were here last time, and we're going to get them back here. I don't know.
Well, I'll keep talking then. So the drivers that fared out tonight well versus the drivers that kind of didn't succeed as much as they wanted to. Ken Kurtz was up 1. Tom Pitre was up 1, as well as Reza Arsham. Michael McCallahan, my man McCallahan, as we like to call him in the booth, and Brad Austin was up 2 on the good tonight. Andrew Maybach was down 3, Alar Sham was down 1, and Howie Burrows down 1 as well.
I mean, what did I do wrong? I'll get him next time, I've not, to be fair, I've not really worked out this car either. So I don't know. I feel like I'd maybe understeer. I'd go slowly. We do indeed have drivers to talk to. So we'll begin with our race winner, Thomas J. Pitre. Thomas Pitre, and I'm saying it right this time. I hope another P1 running away with it in the Supernova car alongside your teammate. How's the car take to this track?
It's tough. I mean, the track is just like a big circle, right? So it just really fries the front left. So most of the race was just managing that and just trying not to overcook it too early.
Now, I want to catch up and find out a little bit more because we're trying to work out things as we go along here. Tell us a little bit more about your team Supernova. We see it on two of the cars and any touring car racing you doing from the USTCC. What can people look up to get to know and find out more?
Unfortunately, we don't really have anything to look up anymore. It was a little virtual graphic design thing that we did a while back, and we keep it going for us personally, but there's not we don't maintain a website or anything anymore for that.
Do you do any more racing in the championship or anything similar in the real world?
I haven't for a bit, but I'm looking to get back into it at some point.
I mean, this should be your rehearsal, really. I feel like you're proving right now that you have pace out there. There's enough happening elsewhere on the track that we can't look at you enough. Any other thank yous or shout outs?
Yeah, I mean, like you said, just a thanks to my teammate. You know, it's really nice having somebody that you're not necessarily directly competing with when the time comes. So being able to kind of bounce strategy off each other and trying to find that last little bit of pace together is really helpful.
Well, a win on the books. I do love watching these little Kias move around the track no matter what. So congratulations on your P1.
Thanks, guys.
I'll leave you with Austin Ryan in P3. I'm not seeing Ken Kurt, so we have his teammate to flank.
Austin Ron, P3 in the books for this race at Lime Rock Park. Had a pretty heated battle with Ken Kurtz. Kind of talk us through what was going through your mind during that race.
What was going through my mind most of the time was don't screw this up. I felt really bad for Ken because I got past him and then he got past me and then I make a mistake and I think I slowed up pretty good going to the chicane one time, so hopefully he'll hear me apologize because I feel bad for that one.
Well, I think all is fair in love and war because at the end of the day, Ken Kurtz was able to get the position that I think he wanted out of view was P2, but P3 was a good, hard-fought battle. Now, anything you wish you had done a little bit differently or anything you wish had gone your way?
Oh, I can't complain about how the race went. One thing I would definitely do differently is early on in the race, I was definitely spinning the front tires a lot more than I wanted to try to keep up with Ken. And as you can see, that cost me in the end, but it was a great race. So no complaints.
100%. I think Howie and I can speak on behalf of all of you. This was one of the most entertaining races I've seen in a while. And it was a pretty small grid. The pack battle was there between you and Ken Kurtz, between Nick Dawson, Lathan, and Rito Bowman as well. I think there were battles up and down the field, including my man McCallahan, of course.
Absolutely.
Now, is there anybody that you want to shout out or anybody that you'd like to thank before we let you go, Austin?
I want to shout out Thomas. He's a huge help just kind of preparing for these things, get me up to speed, and my wife for giving me the chance to do this. Love it, and appreciate them.
Thank you so much for joining us in the booth, brother. Have a great night and stay safe.
Thank you. You too.
As ever, we'd like to thank any driver that comes to speak to us after the race. And with that said, got a show to wrap up. These ones always seem to fly by in an absolute instant, Sagar. I think I'm pronouncing that right. Sagar. It's Sagar, isn't it? Of course it is.
Sagar.
Sagar.
Like soccer, but with G's instead of C's. Yes.
I tried.
I was going to let it slide, Howie.
I try my best for everybody. What can I say? Anyway, lots more to catch from Maconi Entertainment. We're rolling up to road course weekend on the NASCAR Cup Series. So Friday Night Lights and the 4-Length Cup Challenge are coming to Road of the Americas for the first time with the loose track limits. So we'll see how they're quite able to use and abuse those. And it's at 8:30 p.m. Eastern on Friday and Saturday night. I'll be at least around for them. You might not get to hear me speak, but I'm always watching. I'm always an eternal eye. But until then, until later, until another week for this very great series, we'd like to wish you a very